bag of coffee to bring home and brew. With specialty coffee being what it is, it can sometimes seem overwhelming to interpret all the information that's put on a bag or on a website, because all you want to do is pick something that you know is good. So when you're looking at a bag, there's a couple of things that you have to pay attention to. Where is it coming from? What country, what region, what farm? What's the elevation? How high was it grown? Because the higher it is grown, the higher the elevation, the more it struggles to grow, and that produces a more complex cup of coffee. And then, how is it processed? Was it naturally processed using the sun to dry it out? Was it wet processed using a wet mill to be able to then get to the seed that we then roast? Or was it a hybrid of the two? Natural processes usually come across a little more acidic in the cup, and wet processes usually a little bit less. Another thing to consider is how the roaster is actually roasting that coffee. If it's a little bit lighter, there's a tendency for that to come across a little more acidic. If it's a little bit darker, that's going to be a little bit more of the earthier tones that you'd expect out of a cup of coffee. And the last thing I'll usually point out is, how are you going to brew it? Because that's going to factor into what type of coffee you source as well. If you have an espresso machine, sourcing a really acidic coffee is going to be hard to dial in to taste good under milk and whatnot. It can taste good. It's just a lot more difficult, even for baristas that are on bar every single day. So if you're using it for espresso, usually stick towards stuff that have a little bit more of a balanced profile. But the other thing you got to pay attention to is, we've been talking about single origin coffees from one farm, one producer, but the other thing you can also think about are blends. One of the reasons why coffee shops produce blends is because putting 2 or 3 or more coffees together can produce flavor profiles that are really sought after that those coffees on their own wouldn't be able to produce. It's exactly why we created the Oso blend. It took a naturally processed Ethiopian coffee with an amazing Oaxacan washed coffee, and it was able to provide a much more balanced cup that works great for both filter and espresso. So all that being said, if you're brewing at home and you want to just get started, get the recommendations from the barista, or just go with a blend that you know is popular. See what you like about it. If you like it a little more earthy and whatnot, move towards coffees that are like that in their flavor notes. If you're looking for stuff that's a little more adventurous and a little more acidic, take a look at that. Look for naturally processed coffees. Look for different flavor profiles that are mentioned in the flavor notes that have things like citrus and whatnot. Not every coffee is meant for every person, but that's why all the coffee shops offer so many different types. But the whole goal is making sure you source good coffee that you like, so you can brew coffee that's just as good at home.